Hello everyone, my name is Corazar, and welcome back to the Vintage Story Guide. We are back in the world on a rainy day that reminds me of the verse season, because we settled in a place with lots of rain there too. And you might notice that I'm no longer wearing our winter gear, because, surprise, it isn't winter anymore. Go figure. Now, you may also see that in the upper left-hand corner there, it has been a couple days since the last episode. And I've done a few things since then. One is that we had a rather unexciting temporal storm, and I got a single temporal gear, a few flax, and a couple rusty gears from that. I did come over here, however, to our animals, and I thinned out our burgeoning herds here. So we now have, let's see, Generation 1, Generation 0, Generation 1, and Gen 0. So what we're going to do here is, we got a Generation 1 male and female, but having just a single male and single female of a generation is kind of useless, because what happens is, you end up waiting a while to get enough females to keep moving generations along. So I like to have at least 3, maybe 5 total females. That will also let us, once we get to Generation 2 and beyond, it will let us milk them and then get a full barrel of milk every day that they are lactating. Now over here, after our pigs grew up, we had one Generation 1 boar, and everything else is a sow. And I don't want to keep all of these guys, but I just didn't need the extra meat, because I'd already had meat from killing the original sow and boar that we had here. And I have also thinned out our chickens, who are now down to, I think, 2 hens. Yes. I thought 2 hens was a pretty good number of breeding hens, because they lay eggs constantly. So that's what you want to do, is you want to thin out your herd by removing all of the older generation stuff, as long as you have enough male-female pairs to keep going. I also went down through our translocator to the southeast, where we found the bauxite and the andesite below, and I went and I mined a bunch of andesite. And I have all of that stored in a trunk that's getting rather full, right in here. This was a smaller job than it looks like, but it was also surprisingly stable down there. There were even parts where, down at Y22, my gear was spinning clockwise, meaning it was actually positively stable down there, which was wild. Now, Corazar, why were you mining all the andesite? What were you doing down in those mines? Well, I did that because today we are going to focus on this room right here. And I thought it would be fun to have a cool room to complement this hot room. We have this hot kitchen here. It's going to be warm colors, warm earth tones. I thought it would be nice to have a much cooler looking, cool colored living space out here. Have a nice foyer that gets, see, this is east, so we get morning sun here, and illuminates the room and just brings out some cooler colors like blues and, well, blues, because we don't have access to kimberlite yet, so we can't really do a nice cool green. And peridotite is just kind of too dark green for, I think, a cool color. But I was thinking we could do some andesite around the lower trim here, and we can use the chisel to chisel some of the andesite into the oak planks here, and then probably just use some limestone for the walls and the ceiling. I want this room's walls and ceiling to not be the stars of the show. I want whatever we put in here, and some of the other odds and ends that we do in here, to be what's interesting. I don't want the walls to draw your eyes away from, I don't know, maybe some bookshelves along here, or maybe a glass case with some interesting crystals here, and maybe like a couch or something. And maybe some stools here for our breakfast bar. That could be quite fun. But yes, so that is kind of what I'm thinking of. And I think what we'll do is we will do this whole room out to the outer wall, but we're not going to do the house facade just yet. I think that will be for a later episode, because there are some materials I want to get that we just haven't found quite yet, and I think we'll go on an exploration mission or two to find them. And I did all that mining and tree chopping because, well, you've seen me do quite a lot of it, and we're getting to the point in... Whoa. Well, well, well. Hello. As I was saying, we are getting to the point in this series where I'm probably going to start not recording some of the more mundane odds and ends that go on. If I go on mining trips to places we've been, just to get stone or other building materials, I probably won't record it. Same with chopping trees and so on. Now, if there are new discoveries to be found in those places, then of course I'll bring you back and show them to you. And I will cover things like, as we get to the higher generation animals, what different things we can do with them. Mostly the sheep in this case. But for the most part, I will try to cut out most of the chores, because you've seen it all before. So I don't think it's necessary to watch me mine multiple cubic kilometers worth, holy cow, of rock over and over again. And I think it's time for us to get out of here before we get hit by lightning. Alright, we made it home, and now that we are safe inside, I think it's time to say, let's get to it. I'm going to make it morning, and then we will get to work on our new living room. Just kidding. I think before we hit morning, there's something that I wanted to try that a couple of you suggested in the comments. And that is, since we added our quern here with the connection up to the windmill, we no longer have a sealed house. And it's not a huge problem, but I would like to remedy that. So I'm thinking, let's take this down while the wolf tells us what to do. And let's also tear down this thing right here. There we go. I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll bring up our system a little bit. And one of you suggested using a trap door. And I'm sorry, but I don't recall who. And setting our quern on the trap door, we can open it to access it. Requires solid ground. Maybe we can't do that. No, looks like unfortunately we do have to have solid ground, but what if we set this up here, but we had the trapdoor on the side? Something like that? No, dummy, we put the trapdoor on the top side of the block. There we go, now we can actually reach it. That means we will need a few of these, I think. Or, hear me out, we could steal our other blocks and reuse those. Ooh, not that one, I guess. Let's see, maybe we can stick this guy here to seal that. And then, let's just put our staircases like that and like that. And now we have a cellar again. Thank you to those of you in the comments who mentioned this. I think there were a couple of you who came up with this solution as well, so thank you to all of you who pointed out the possibilities for fixing our house and having an actual sealed house again. Great! That was very dramatic. Alright everyone, it is morning and I about forgot our andesite. That could be problematic, couldn't it? And I've been playing around with some ideas as far as what type of textures to use. And we'll talk about mixing... Ooh, hey, trees grew. Mixing textures and colors together in our build while we're working on this. So let's grab some andesite. Let's make sure we have some blue clay. Hello? Hello! It looks like our kapok tree grew. We bought a kapok seed from our agriculture trader over there and planted it over here. And we got a tree with virtually no leaves. Wow. Again, I do think there's a bug with leaves. Now, we also bought a redwood seed, but we have 28 more days for this thing to grow. Yeah, if you play with the default tree speed, which is half as fast, or growth times take twice as long, these can take 80 days or more to grow, which can be really painful. So you know what, let's go ahead and tear this tree down, because this is going to give us access to a new color of wood. And there we go. And sadly, we didn't get a seed. That's a real shame. I'm going to put a mark right here, just so I know where I planted it. I'm going to go buy another seed if our trader has one, and we will replant it. I don't want to keep spending gears on it, but I would like to get a steady stream of kapok wood. Ah, you do. 8 gears. Oh my goodness. What a ripoff. Okay. We have our new K-block planted. Give me more leaves and more seeds, please, next time. Okay, living room, blue living room. Here we come. When you are building any build, really, you don't have just colors to worry about, but also texture. And that's why I brought along a few things to play with here, along with, we're going to grab a little bit of this. These are the chiseled version of the blocks, so we can mess with them and break them up if we need to, or pick them up with the pickaxe and not worry about it. Let's start by tearing out this part of the wall here, well, the dirt wall, and I kind of already know that I want to have some limestone as this second block right here. It's this bottom block that I was kind of playing with, and I had a couple options. One is that we could have used some kind of wood, but I really wanted to go for a cooler look, so I wanted to go with the andesite. Plus, I wanted a different texture. And so I kind of at that point ruled out using andesite rock. And we will just tuck you on top of there, because these textures are the same. They are the exact same texture, it's just the stone texture, different color. So that kind of ruled that out. I then thought, what about we could do some polished andesite? And that is certainly an option. We could tuck some polished andesite in here, have a whole lot of these cube-looking blocks, and that would be a nice difference in texture. But then I thought, well, we have a lot of that in here already, and I didn't want to have too many large plain areas. We have it broken up in here with this horizontal wood grain and also these brick blocks that kind of help keep it from being a bunch of flat plains and a bunch of smaller flat plains. So these aren't necessarily out, but I didn't like them as much as some other options. And with a bit of further application of our hammer and chisel, we can turn these into slabs and then into bricks, and then we could turn these into brick blocks with a bit of mortar. And this makes for a pretty decent, different texture. I like it. But as I was playing around with textures in Creative, I realized that having a horizontal and vertical texture going on here, and a similar texture in the floor because of what I want to do with the floor here, I didn't end up liking it as much as what people consider the budget option, but honestly is a very viable choice. And that is cobblestone. Yes, the good old-fashioned humble cobblestone can make for a really nice texture to break things up and just make things a bit different. I think we used some, we used some in here already, and I think it worked out pretty well. I think having a flat wall the entire way up would have been kind of boring. Granted, we can't see a whole lot of it, but I think this just helps keep the wall from getting a little too plain. Also, I figured out the problem with these leaves is that I was using the leaves that were not branchy leaves, and the leaf leaves, which we still have some of here, they actually need to connect to a branchy leaf and be not too far away. They have to be like within 4 blocks, basically. So if you are using the branch cutter mod and you're cutting branches and they keep disappearing when you place them, make sure you're using some of the branchy leaves. They should stay around. I haven't seen any break yet, and it's been a few days, so I think we're okay. But yes, simple, good old, humble cobblestone makes for a nice little border here, like so. Now you'll see this is kind of a stark line here though, right? That's a little much, don't you think? Well, I agree. And we have options. Options like I could tuck this away, get my hammer out, and my chisel, and we could spend a good long while chiseling something into this to maybe add a different texture in. Like I'm thinking maybe oak would go nicely in here, be a nice little texture to put across there. But unless we shaved down all of the walls, then the oak would just be a flat texture overlaid on top of this. Now we could also drop planks or slabs of oak and chisel those down, but that means that we wouldn't be able to put any non-chiseled objects like tables, like real tables like these, against the wall. unless we also removed that trim. That could look funny. Well, in version 1.18, we have a new feature, a new type of block that we can do. Actually, two, really. And we're going to grab some oak for this, and we're going to investigate these. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with the good old humble oak log. Did you know that in this version of the game, if you take your oak log and put a hammer above it, and then put your axe between the hammer and the log, you can get a debarked oak log. And let's see, we have 779 and 400. Takes 1 durability to make a debarked oak log, and these are pretty cool. You get the similar end grain texture as the log, but you get a bark color that is much more like the wood, because it is, the wood. However, there's something else you can do with these that we explored a little bit in the preview a long time ago. So if you take these in your inventory with a saw this time, you can get support beams. Oh, and you actually get 3. Oh, thank goodness. And with these, you can right-click on a part of a block and extend a beam out up to a number of blocks away as beam blocks that you have. And these beams have no collision. So if I do, say, let's do that, there's no collision on these. I can walk right through them. And we can also place more blocks right... Oh, we cannot. There we go. So we can place blocks mostly in them, and we can't because this is the connecting end here, which is a little weird, and we will talk about that at some point here. But these beams are... they're not quite ready for prime time, in my opinion, but I think we can use them here. What this means, though, is that if we take this, we could run a beam across here as like a chair rail, and that would cover up this really weird seam here, and still let us put things in most places. We'll have to pick a side where we won't be able to place anything else, like probably here, as long as we never have to actually replace the doors. Now, with these beam blocks, you will note that there is no collision, so you can't select them except for this little corner where you first started it. You must break them on that corner, and you will get the blocks back. So I'm going to go ahead and make a few more of these, and that means... let's see, if we do 1, 2, 3, 18. Oh, wow. So we need exactly 5 more logs to turn into these. And then these in with the saw. And there we go. Oops, I need miscounted. 1 more. Let's see if these look the way that I planned them to. Oh, yes. Yes, that is perfect. Now, granted, we can't chisel these or anything, so we can't turn them into anything fancier, but I think this is it's a nice look, especially for a homey, simple house like we're going to have as Hobbits here. I don't think having a lot of fancy, beveled edges and stuff would really fit, at least not around the whole room. So I think it's time for us to go ahead and let's get the cobble from the andesite and the limestone rock walls in, and bearing in mind that along here we're going to have to chisel them in, well, 1, because we already have chiseled blocks here, and 2, because we want to have 2 different colors, 1 on each side of the block. So, let's get to it. Alright, everyone, it is the next morning. And I can't jump there anymore. Oh well. And so here is the start of our little room here. Goodbye. And you'll see that these like to stick up. Sometimes you get this sort of weirdness where it'll use up more length of beam than you really want, but otherwise it'll kind of stop in places you don't want it to. So we have a bit of a Viking house now, I guess, but these will get covered up by the cob and dirt that we placed there. If I can get up there. There we go. See, those will get covered up, and we will never see those. And the reason I put the oak here, again, is that we had this sort of weird seam of the yellow and white and the orange and white, and it looked a little bit funny. So I went ahead and just covered it up. I have a friend who says, do your best and caulk the rest. So that's what we're doing. Now up here is going to get a little more interesting because we are going to have to work in some kind of wood walkway. I do want wood floorboards up here. And so we will probably chisel those out to the edge of this limestone here that's basically being like plaster. But I picked it over the actual plaster because, again, I do want to keep the more earthy tones. So as you can see, we are bringing out the limestone from the ceiling and from the floors out to here along with the oak. Again, keeping in with pulling different themes from different rooms so that each room shares a theme or a texture or a color with at least one adjacent room. And of course, you don't have to do that in your builds, it's just how I build. I like it, so I do it. So let's get you in place. Oops. Oh no, no. That was a mistake. Yeah, so here is one of the problems I have with these, is that if you place them in the wrong spot, and you can't, for whatever reason, get your axe to line up with one of the actual ends, you have to sort of remove all the blocks around them. To see if you can find where they're actually attached. And sometimes you just can't. They just don't. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Oh, interesting. I learned something new and quirky today. That is, weird. I'm going to try to remove that, but I don't know how I can. So, this is kind of unfortunate, but yep, we have a floating support beam here with literally no hitbox for me to actually strike at, and breaking the block just picks up the block with the beam attached, or not, as it were. So yeah, we're gonna have to just ditch this one and start fresh. So just be extra careful when you are placing, and if you start to place a beam and it's not going where you want it to, make sure you left click, don't right click. Left click will cancel the beam, right click will complete it. And you go in the garbage out there. Don't worry, that isn't littering because the brownies will come and clean it up automatically in 10 minutes. Trust me. Why would I lie to you? Okay, with that adventure about over, and yes, we do still need to put in this one here, but I want to wait until we figure out what to do about the stairs here. Let's go ahead and get our floor in, which means taking the current floor out. Okay, now like I mentioned, I want to have a wood floor in here, and I was thinking it would be nice to mix and match some oak and some larch. Although we did just get this kapok, so why don't we go ahead and take a look at the kapok and see if this could maybe fit in with a build instead. So kapok is a funny wood in that if you make firewood out of it, you only get 3 pieces of firewood per log, which is weird, but okay. And if you place it down, you can see it's got kind of a very different outer bark. It's like a whitish green or greenish white, one of the two. Get some more light on the subject here. And very heavily textured and doesn't have much direction. It's not like grained like the oak or the pine. Now the wood itself is a very nice warm color and I like it a lot. Let's go ahead and we're going to break down one of these into some boards and make a few slabs. So let's see, does the kapok and the larch, do they go together very well? They're not bad together. And as you can see, the kapok is actually pretty similar to the oak. If we go over here, we lay a slab out here, like they're pretty similar. But I think they fall in that category where they're too similar, but not similar enough. Where I don't want to have the kapok here kind of clashing with the oak that we have on the wall in the trim here. So I think we're going to leave the kapok aside for now, and we'll probably find a place to use it. But I want to stick with the oak and probably the larch here, and see what we can do with this floor. Now I had been considering earlier doing maybe a checkerboard floor with these guys. And they're okay, checkerboardy, but I'll tell you why I don't think I want to do checkerboard is that we already have that going on in here. And I feel like having two checkerboard floors in adjacent rooms might just be a little too much to deal with. So I decided not to do that. But I think what I want to do instead is, again, since the floor and the walls and things aren't meant to be the stars of the show, I think we'll go with a simple border of oak and then do an interior of larch. I'm not quite sure how we'll handle the stairs just yet, but once we get this in, I'll be able to sort of sort that out. Alright, so what we could do for the stairs and for the entryway up here is we could pick one color or the other. I don't want to do like one block is larch and the other block is oak, because that could look funny, and like for here, this is another border. Why would we put larch here? So I'm thinking we might just want to do oak, but we could also split the difference and do like oak on this half of a block and larch in the middle here, and then oak again over here. But that could get a bit noisy, so you know what? Let's see how all this looks with just oak. We already have chiseled blocks here, so we're going to be chiseling anyway, and so if we don't like the just oak look, we can come back in with some larch and maybe fix that. Now remember, if you'll recall from when we did our kitchen, when we did the trim around here, we tried using the oak slabs and adding them to the limestone. However, because the game has a feature, and I use the word loosely, that prevents you from exploiting certain mechanics that used to be in the game, i.e. being able to expand a slab into a full block, it kind of seems to forget that we already had a full block to begin with, and it didn't like us adding just the slab. So if you're doing this kind of thing, make sure you just add whole blocks to your chisel projects here, and that will save you some hassle. And of course, the grain goes the wrong way. Why wouldn't it? I'm not quite sure what to make of this, but that is kind of irritating. If I were to add vertical planks in here, could I get that fixed or no? No! I cannot. What we may have to do here is we may have to take these up and replace these with full blocks, but make sure that we place them so that we get the correct texture orientation. Like that. And like that. There we go. Now hopefully when we chisel this guy, yes, he keeps his orientation there. And we'll just do that. Okay. That's not too bad. I think I can deal with that. Now, as for the floor color, I do think it should be a bit brighter, at least in the middle here. So I think it will come through with some of the larch and add that into the center here after I finish this out here. That almost killed me. Yes. Yes, I like that. And in the morning we'll come through and add some larch in and see how it looks. Yes, that works pretty well, I think. It matches the floor down here. Now we are going to need to do something about this dirt stair we have here. So let's get a little bit more... Oh, whoops, I already have you. And we'll get a bit of stone here. Just for that one and for here, I guess. There we go. And we are going to chisel ourselves some stairs, because using the stair blocks often results in a very strange texture that won't line up with what we have going on here. So let's get this guy chiseled, and we'll add you in there like that, and then chisel you, and Bob's your uncle, as we Americans totally say. And there we go, a nice staircase up. Now for along here, actually I guess I wanted to do this support beam across here, even though it's not really supporting much. I think I have some still up here. Ah, I do. Excellent. Let's get this support beam across here. Can we get you... Nope, you don't go there. Can we get you here? Yes, there we go. We'll just send you all the way to there. Looking great. Looking great. Now, I believe I mentioned that right along here, I want to have some kind of interesting rail. So let's go ahead and we'll get that in. I'm thinking that we're going to use some walnut as the sort of base of the rail, and then probably the top. And maybe we'll use some more larch for the parts in between the bottom and the top. Now, since this is going to be a very thin piece, I think we can get away with using slabs to save on materials. I guess we'll find out this time, won't we? And maybe we'll be very sad. I know I will be. And we'll just stand you up about there. And get to work. There we have a nice little railing with some interesting work with, I think, the light wood and the dark walnut just mixed together. Now, this is not a particularly protective railing. We can hop right on it and walk over, but, well, our knees can take it, I guess. Great. Well, I'm going to sleep on it until morning, and we will get in here with, I think, a bit of a ceiling, and I want to do something a bit different than what we've been doing for ceilings. So I want to get a little bit more, or a little less, flat, I think. We'll see how that goes. Oh, and our carrot seems to have matured. Let's go ahead and harvest it. We get 2 seeds and 11 carrots. So they don't offer bad output, but because they take up a valuable K land plot that you could use for flax, I typically don't bother planting carrots. Okay, let's get on in here. We do have one more layer of wall that needs to be added before we get to our ceiling. So we are actually getting kind of low on limestone. So we might have to go and make a trip to get some more pretty soon. Okay, so we have our taller ceiling here and our lower ceiling here. I think what we're going to do is we are going to have a little bit of a slope right there, and we will match that actually probably to the stairs here. So that way we can have our ceiling come down with us. Maybe one more. One more couldn't hurt. I mean, it could hurt. It could hurt a lot. I don't know. You tell me. And then we're going to go ahead and fill in this... Whoops, not you. You get to be Cobb. Fill this across here, like so. And then our ceiling is going to be some more limestone. And we are going to have to go and get some more limestone, definitely, because this is the last of it, unfortunately. I'm going to build this out, and then we're going to tear out a little bit of it, and you'll see why in a bit. But I'm going to go get some more limestone, and I'll be back with all of you when we have that, and we can finish our roof here. I'm going to get mining, so I'll see all of you in a little bit. Alright, we are back. We have a good enough stash of limestone to do, hopefully, the rest of this, and I think that shouldn't be a problem, really. And of course, the weather in here looks the same as it does outside today, in that place we call the real world. And let's go ahead and we're just going to get this done. Okay, we have a room that is admittedly a bit cavier than I want it to be. And so what I was thinking was, what if we took a part of the roof, like right here, right in the middle actually, the one time we'll use the middle for anything, and what if we knock this out? And what if we were to make a little skylight using some of our lake ice mixed in with the limestone rock? Well, as in leading it up there. And I was thinking it'd be cool to have like a little dome more than anything. You know, leave that one up here. I think that would be pretty awesome. However, I realized that I kind of goofed here, and I actually need some of this regular limestone rock back. I'm going to replace some of this with stuff I have in my hand, so let's go ahead and we're just going to pop this out and put some of these back in. So I was thinking we could take this and we could maybe bring it up a little bit, like so, and maybe even one more, but I'm not quite sold on that. Let's see what happens if we just put some lake ice on here. I think we can work with that. So what I want to do with this here is I want to turn this into like an octagonal dome, where we'll have a solid block here in the middle, and then it'll drop down into a little sort of prism-like shape. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have to do the lake ice all by hand. When we go to finish up the limestone part, we'll be able to use a new tool I want to introduce you to. If you haven't already guessed what it is or been on the channel before, then we will see it in a moment. But I'm going to go ahead and get this all chiseled out, and then we'll talk about the next step. Alright, you know, I think I like it. I was going to kind of bring this up here and flatten this edge down here, but I kind of like this shape. It makes a neat little hexagon like this. And so I kind of like that. It's a neat little bubble. Now, I think we are going to have to move this whole setup up one block because we need to be able to put our dirt here. And I don't want to end up being downstairs and looking up and seeing dirt. Of course, you don't really see it that well. Still, I think we'll pop it up by a block and put some more limestone in here. And then in the morning, we will get to work on the limestone part, which is, I think, going to be of interest to anyone who wants to learn how to not spend several minutes doing just a few blocks with a chisel. Alright, here we are. So imagine, if you will, and perhaps don't imagine, let's all look together at what this would look like if we were to, for instance, hatch some of this in with a bit of, not you, of cob, just like a little rotunda, a little bubble that sticks up out of the roof over here. So yeah, a little gem just sitting on the surface of the world, surrounded by trees and grass. And what we can do here is we could spend time and chiseling down each of these blocks into a sideways slope block to match the other side of this. Or, and hear me out, or we could not do that, and we could just do one of them, and then we could use the Workbench mod to copy that to other blocks. And the Workbench mod is a very simple one to get into. All it requires is a little bit of wood. In fact, not even that much. So all you need is wood set up like this, and you only need 9 pieces. And this, my friends, is the mod that, until you get to the Iron and Steel Age, will save you all the headache. Absolutely all the headache. Let's just set up our workbench right there. That's an odd one, for sure. Interesting how light works in this game. I think it has to do with where the actual corner block is on the piece here, so there we go. Perfect. Now we can bang our hip on it whenever we go to the kitchen. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab actually all these blocks because we don't need them where they are right now. And we're going to start with, we'll say, this side over here. And what we're going to do is just drop this down, and it actually doesn't matter which side we start with. So let's go ahead and we'll just chisel you down like this. And there we have a sideways slope that will fit right up in here, like so. And what we can do is we can copy that 3 other times, and I have to get that back first before I can do that. And what we do is we come into the workbench here. We're going to put in our blueprint one. We'll add in our chisel. We can't use chiseled stone, unfortunately. It does not recognize it as a valid target, so we need to put in 3 of these. And then you right-click on it, and it'll make a very annoying noise. Well, it's not quite as loud as it used to be. I don't know if they changed that or if my headphones are turned down. I don't know. But yep, you just hammer away, and like that we have a total of 4 copies of this block now. Now you will note that every time that you copy a block, it will use 20 durability from your chisel per material in the block. So this is a single material, each action used 20 durability. If we were copying, say, one of these blocks with the sandstone and limestone halves, then that would be 40 durability. And the complexity of the shape does not affect the durability loss, only the number of materials. So this is a great way to go through a lot of chisels, but also a great way to save yourself a lot of time. And what we'll do here is we'll just hop up on our handy dandy block here and just drop these in place. And then take our chisel again, which is still on the table. I will always leave these in the table by accident. Going to go into rotate mode. And there we go. And what we can do is, I'm thinking, a few more copies of you. And there we go. We now have a neat little skylight that leads down into our living room. Now, something I do want to do here now is I think it would be cool to line it with some of these oak pieces, the oak supports. Let's see how much oak we have left. Oh, we've got plenty. Who am I kidding? So what I want to do here is I would like to have one that goes up, no. It's almost like, oh, there we go. Oh, no, not quite what I wanted. About there. Nope. These are a real struggle sometimes. Not gonna lie. So I'm gonna fiddle with these till I get them working, and then I'll bring it back when they're done. Okay, I figured out the secret is that with chiseled blocks, it doesn't really know where it wants to go. I don't know why. Like if I aim here, it angles it on the wrong corner. Of course, if I aim at this corner, what happens then? And it goes even farther out. So, yeah, we don't want that happening. But if you put down an unchiseled block, like say this dirt here, and aim at the corner you want to start it at, and don't miss, then it should let you place this right where you want it, but it is very, very finicky. So, buyer beware. Hopefully removing these won't break those. Alright. Oh no, why did you do that? I want this to go the whole way up. Well, I got it here. I'll have to redo these guys a bit, but we'll make it work.
1 hour later.
And there we have it, folks. There is our skylight. This might not let our house seal, so what we might have to do is we may have to come in here with maybe some regular glass blocks, some nice clear ones, and fill in at least some of this hole in here. Maybe just sort of do an extra block down. Because in order to seal a room, a block must be either a whole block or a solid face of a half block, or if it's a chisel block, then the face that is on the inside that's insulating must have no more than 20 little single bits taken out, like that. Nope, if I had a hammer, it would be helpful. So an insulating block face must have no more than 20 of those taken out, and the entire block itself must be at least 50% intact. Looks like we have no bonus here. If we go in here, do you count as a cellar yet? You count as a house. Well, that's nice. Okay. But yeah, I'm not ultra concerned about this room because we're probably not going to spend a whole lot of time in here just faffing about. This is going to be a come in and get to somewhere else room. Alright, well, let's make it morning and let's put a few last touches on the room. I think we're not quite done with it overall, but there's a lot of detail work that I want to get to, but only after we get some more materials and access to some more things we don't have yet. In particular, the tools that will let us copy blocks a bit more easily. But let's get this room looking as good as we can in the age that we're in, the Bronze Age. Okay, it is morning and we need to get some windows and doors in that place, don't you think? Now, for the doors, I am thinking that our front door, we will continue with the tradition of using the walnut for our doors, but for our windows, we have something new to do. Let's get some of this galena, and we're going to go ahead and smelt some of it. 10 ingots, 10 should be plenty. And we can smelt this with just some sticks, so in you go. Because lead melts at 327, and these burn at 700. And while those are cooling, let's get some other decorations made. I am thinking that we should do some clay forming and make a few planters to put around, as well as maybe some flower pots. Let's do 4 of each, why not? I think we have plenty of clay for that. And then I think there are a couple other things we could put together here for decoration. Let's get some linen, and let's maybe clear out our inventory a little bit. And we're going to need some wood, and I think we're going to want a little bit of hay as well. And I think what we can do is let's make a couple stools. For that we're going to need to make some plain cloth. Let's just make 2 for now. We're going to turn these into stools, or chairs in this case, plain chairs. I think a table might go nicely in there as well. We'll make that. Ooh, and we should make a glass case so that we can show off some of our more interesting goods. Those made like this. And then I think we could also maybe have a place to hang up our armor. And for that we'll need an armor stand, like so. So let's grab our armor here and bring that with us. And then maybe we'll grab some of our cooler things we've gotten here. Let's take, I don't know, let's take you, you're kind of interesting looking. Let's take a rough emerald and maybe a couple seashells. Maybe you. Alright, so I am thinking that over here we're going to move our lantern. And let's see if we can hang you there, or we could hang you, like, here for now. I do want to come through here eventually and change this into a gentle slope, but I want to do that when we have access to the better tools for that. But I'm thinking that for now, we can go ahead and maybe put this table here. Yeah. And we'll put 1 chair there and 1 chair there. Like that. And then maybe a second table. I'm glad I totally brought my wood with me. But maybe we'll put a second table like maybe here. We can't put them here or here because these silly support beams prevent us from doing so. Now we could put the table there and then sort of fit it back in, but that's okay. I think having this as like a neat thing to see as you come down the stairs could be pretty cool. And we can put some neat crystals in it. We can put some more interesting crystals there. And then I'm thinking a nice seashell and an emerald that we found by panning through some old bony soil. Now the armor stand I think I want to put over here. Not quite like that. Can I fit you there? No, you want to go like... You want to go somewhere that I don't want you. I want to push you over. And you can push these because they are entities, so they're kind of like the dummies in that way. But we can crouch and right-click with our armor, and now we have a little armory right here. So if we need to put our gear on and run out the door, we can come up here, grab our stuff, and head out the door. Alright, and then 3 sets of doors. That's a 1, that's 2, and that's 3. And we now have a mostly enclosed house, with one exception. We need our windows, so let's go get those. So our lead here is all nice and cold. We can take these up, and we're going to go and combine them with some full blocks of glass and some wood, and I'm thinking, let's use the pine for this. And what we'll do here is I'm going to put the pine in the corners here, the glass in the middle, and 1 lead ingot on top, and we will get 1 set of 4 leaded glass panes. Now we made a lot more lead than we needed today, That's because we will want to use more of these in the future, and so I wanted to make sure we had them on hand. But let's go put these in place and see how they look. So we have 1 and 2, and we have 3. We can see our armor through the window. Neat. Let's see. Yes, I think that adds a splash of bright color in a place that really needs it. And I think what we'll do eventually, we're going to come through here in a detail pass, probably once we get to the Iron Age, which shouldn't be, well, I don't want to say it's soon, because we're only on episode 21, but that could be as early as, say, 26 to 30. We did it at episode 30 in the last season. But we'll come through here and we'll kind of widen this out. I want to smooth this down a bit, and around here too, and we'll also, actually before then, we will also put a facade on our house here. It looks like our clay stuff is done here. Let's go ahead and we're going to pick up all of this stuff, and we're going to grab some flowers to put in here. I'm thinking at least one nice red lupin, maybe even an orange one. And then, let's see, what else do we have? We have some catmint. Yeah, here we go. Catmint and some woad. And then some cow parsley. Okay, let's fill out the last couple things we need to put in here. Let's put down a planter here in this corner, and I think right here we need something nice and purple, because we have the blue down here to give us a nice cool color, but up here we don't. So you go in there. Oh, I like it's not too tall. Oh, that's great. And then down here we can put a flower pot here. Let's put one here on the table. And then maybe put a planter in the corner there. We can't put one there still. I may have to fiddle with these oak support beams. I'm not liking how they block everything. We could also put something in here. Maybe a planter, or at least a pot right there. And a planter here. And then we have room to put a whole bunch of other odds and ends. And maybe what we could do is, ooh, yes, for this planter, I have a better idea for what we're going to do. Let's just tuck you guys in there. Close those doors. In here, I want to put you. Nice and bright. And then I want to see if we can get a hold of some blue cornflower that I think I've seen growing nearby. I guess in that corner we'll do... No, we'll do the red in this corner. And the orange will go in this flower pot. Okay, I think I saw some blue cornflower over here in Bearland. Let's see. Ah, yes, there you are. Any bears? Any wolves? Not at this exact moment. Let's sneak in here. We're going to take all of these that we can. I don't want to have to come back here. Alright, and let's see. Oh yeah, a big old splash of blue and green. Yes, that helps to offset everything else in the room pretty nicely. Oh, and something here too. Maybe one of you. Yeah, let's do that. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode and are looking forward to many more building episodes in the future. However, in the upcoming episodes, I think we'll take a break from building and focus on getting materials for future builds, getting into materials we haven't actually seen before, and I think we need to do a bit of a resource run because I am almost out of copper and I am dead out of zinc. Plus there are some shenanigans I want to get into, so look forward to that. As always, my name has been Corazar. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.